Welcome back to the Step Brothers. I'm Wesley Clark here with Andrew Hyden. We are days away from the Final Four. Michigan and Illinois inching their way to a national championship. Andrew was at the game last night against Tennessee. How are we feeling about that?
That was awesome. Looked closer to earlier season Michigan with the way they were just dominating teams. Did not expect them to blow out a solid defensive team like Tennessee by 30, but the energy in there was awesome. A lot of Michigan fans walking around. The post game, awards and cutting down the nets. I was there for. It was awesome. So yeah, just great experience.
Yeah, so Michigan 2 wins away from a title. The Big Ten shining. We'll talk a little bit about Ohio State Pro Day at the end as they're closer to the NFL draft. But Andrew, we kind of the narrative around the Big Ten and March Madness was, they beat each other up during the regular season and they can't continue that type of dominance in March Madness, but they finally are shining, or they did shine in March Madness this year.
Yeah. Previously, that's been the narrative. They've always kind of choked. I guess people say they always say the Big Ten early exits, right? Normally, when you think of some of the Michigan State teams, some of the good Iowa teams with like Luka Garza. Really, Michigan's been one of the teams that's done well in the tournament, but the Big Ten obviously has not won a national title since the year 2000. It's 26 years. But this year, they look like the best conference. I mean, I know it was kind of neck and neck between them and the Big 12 probably all year with how down the SEC was this year. But yeah, I think there should be, with the way that Houston looked against Illinois. I know Iowa State was down their best player, so maybe that's not a fair assessment there. But I don't know. Based on the way the tournament's going, I mean, Iowa was the 9th place team in the Big Ten and made the Elite Eight. I think that says something a lot about the conference as a whole. Even more impressive that Michigan was able to dominate that conference and win outright by 4 games and go 19-1, which no team has ever won 19 games the Big Ten before, and they didn't lose a single road game all year. So, yeah, good showing by the Big Ten this year, finally flipping the narrative a little bit.
Yeah, Iowa had to play, who was it? Nebraska. Nebraska, also phenomenal March Madness. They hadn't done that ever. They had never won a March Madness game.
Yeah.
They got to the Sweet 16. Then they got upset by Iowa. And like you said, Iowa actually, they lost to Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament. And obviously, Ohio State first round exit this year against TCU. But then Iowa then has to play Illinois. So you're talking about 3 Big Ten teams, and they have to face each other. The only reason why there's not more Big Ten teams is there because the bracket is now to 4, and they had to face each other at some point. So it's too bad that they had, in terms of the Big Ten, had to, kick each other out. But Purdue, they almost lost to Texas, but Texas was hot. But they got they got to move on. I believe they lost to Arizona, which is, one of the dominant teams.
Acceptable.
And then obviously Michigan
State let down.
To me, they had a tough time shooting throughout the tournament when I was watching them.
All year.
At some point, they were going to lose. UConn, was able to shoot the ball better than them. As we saw last night, I think the biggest thing for UConn and Duke was if UConn can hit the 3. I heard this is what I heard. If UConn can hit the 3, they're going to beat Duke. And we saw that with 0.3 remaining in the game.
Yeah, well, they weren't all game. I think they started like 1 for 18.
Yep,
and then they were 4 out of the last 5 or 6. Goes to show you, like, that can close a gap quick when you're shooting it well. So,
yeah, it was. I mean, we were talking that before the show. What is the comparison to Duke into football? We talked about trouble to snap. It's possible. All Duke had to do was hold on to the ball, get fouled. There's 10 seconds remaining. You can hold the ball with 10 seconds in the backcourt. Yeah. And they turned the ball over somehow.
You didn't have to win the game. You just had to not lose it. And fail to do that. I think part of that is similar to the Duke team last year. The Duke's team last year, if you look at how those guys are doing in the NBA, insanely loaded with Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple, Kaman Malawach. But inexperience shows in games like this. That's been Duke's issue is, sure, they have a bunch of McDonald's All-Americans and a lot of them go one and done, but when you don't have experience on those big stages, like, it shows sometimes. And I think, especially with Caden Boozer playing, when he hadn't really taken on a big role all season until Caleb Foster went down.
Yep.
he was kind of thrust into more of a starting point guard type of role, and experience just kind of showed there.
That's actually what I thought too. And if Duke doesn't lose one of their best players, Caden's not even out there, and
Right.
the result might be different. The result might not. UConn might not even have an opportunity because that point guard they lost has a better game than Caden, and
Yeah.
it's too bad for Duke. I mean, we haven't won since 2015. I think they beat Wisconsin that year. And maybe that was in the Final Four. I think maybe they did beat them in the championship.
No, Wisconsin beat Kentucky, and then Duke beat Wisconsin.
Yep. So there you go. So it's been a while. That's when they had Coach K, and he last couple of years wasn't able to get to them. I know last year for Coach K, they lost to UNC. I think his last home game and in the tournament.
That was in the Final Four. Yeah,
that is
wild.
Pretty
They're an
wild
8 seed too.
Pretty wild way to exit as a Duke legend.
Yeah,
lose the UNC,
especially to Hubert Davis, who just got fired.
Yeah. So obviously Michigan. So Final Four, you got UConn, Big East, Arizona, Big 12, and then Illinois and Michigan representing the Big 10. Michigan and Arizona will go at each other, and UConn and Illinois. Let's preview that quickly, that UConn-Illinois game. Just quick thoughts on that before we get into Arizona, Michigan.
Quick thought. I mean, Illinois, length, got a ton of size, and they shoot it really well. Now, this is something people are going to talk about, and Illinois is not reliant. They're not live or die by the three like some teams are, like Wisconsin in the Big Ten, for example. But when you go to play in those Final Four arenas and they have, it's like the elevated floor, and normally there'd be like a backdrop of fans right behind the basket, but instead there's like that giant field of space. And so there's like, it's like there's like a black hole behind the basket almost, and it messes with your depth perception we've seen. So a hot shooting team like Illinois, wonder how that impacts them in terms of the way they're able to shoot it from outside. Now they get a ton of production in the paint. I think that's when they're at their best. You said about UConn, like they've struggled to shoot the ball at times this year. They go on cold stretches on offense. So I think it's going to be really for both these games. I think it's going to be about defense. It's going to be about rebounding, doing the little things right. You can never really count on hot shooting at a neutral site environment like that, I don't think. But I do. It's just hard. I do think Illinois is favored for the right reasons, but it's hard for me to count out Dan Hurley in this this venue, or whatever you want to call it, just because of what's happened the past few years and what he's done at this stage before. Like, that team has experience in these moments, and like we just talked about, I think that matters.
Right. I mean, at the end of the game, they're down by 19 against Duke, and they inched their way back. This is, a championship level game. Right. And they inched their way back, and were able to do it because of the experience that he has, Dan Hurley, and the experience he has gotten his players too. I mean, so it's going to be interesting, this Illinois UConn game. I will say Illinois against Iowa, they had 38 rebounds, and Iowa had 21. So prove your point on, in the paint, Illinois does well. They only shot 17% from three. Again, like you said, they don't lean on the three ball very well. Maybe we'll see what happens with this type of court.
When they're at their best, it's dropping, but they don't need it to win, I don't think.
Right. So they're forwards. They're in the paint. They do well there. And the guards, just if they can control the game, I think they can beat UConn. Especially if UConn plays the way they did against Duke on the 3-point shot, then I'll have Illinois winning this one. Arizona, Michigan, it kind of seems, this reminds me of, maybe it's not as severe, but it reminds me of 2023 when TCU and Michigan were going at each other, and then Ohio State and Georgia were playing at each other. It seemed like the winner of that game was going to end up winning the national championship.
You're saying Michigan, Arizona is like Ohio State, Georgia?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I see a lot of people with that point of view, the whole de facto national championship thing. These have been two of the most elite teams all year. You'd put Duke into that category as well. Arizona, I'd say, has been more consistently elite. Like, they don't drop their level of play a lot, where Michigan has been more up and down, but their ceiling is their second year is just unreal. They match up very well with each other. They preach the same things. You know, for maybe the first time all year, they're going to be able to match up with size for a Daimara, right? Like Krivas is 7'2", Daimara is 7'3". I know Tennessee had some size too, but they didn't have any guys that were 7'3". They got Awaka, they got physical guys. Their backcourt is really good. Jaden Bradley, Braden Burries, Koa Pete, I think is going to match up with Yaxel Lindebor. That's a future, lottery pick type of matchup. The only difference really is Michigan likes to get more of their production from the 3-point line. Arizona does not. It's not like they can't make them, but they just don't take a lot. I think they took like 8 or something in their last win. Maybe that was the game before.
You said 8 threes?
Yeah, only attempted.
Against Tennessee?
No, Arizona. Against Purdue. Or maybe it was the game before where they played like Utah State. Or who they playing this week? Arkansas? Something like that. I don't know. They've had multiple games where they've shot less than 10 threes this year. Obviously, Michigan.
They shot 15 threes against Purdue.
Okay. But it's still a low number compared to what Alabama just shot 47 against Michigan the other night.
They shot 8 threes against Arkansas, but scored 109 points.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So they want to dominate the paint. They want to be physical. They want to get on the glass. Now, Michigan this entire year has been the number one team in 2-point defense. They are the best rim protection team in the country. So I think that's kind of a something's got to give type of matchup. Whereas Michigan attacks in multiple different ways. Like, yes, they want to dominate the paint, but especially in the tournament, I think they've shot over 40% in every single game. So the guards have really stepped up there as well. I don't know. This is a pick'em spread for a reason. This game is, like I said, 2 of the elite teams this year. People have been hoping that this game would happen all season. We're finally going to get it. So,
I was at the Duke Michigan game earlier in the year, and Michigan was getting dominated in the paint.
Yep.
Duke is one of those teams that were very physical. That's not the type of. Obviously, the Big Ten is known for its physicality, but Duke was just on another level this year, being in the paint. Does that worry you? Because Arizona could just be as good as Duke and Michigan in the paint.
Oh, they will. I think they're probably better than Duke in the paint. I think they have at least similar. Does it worry me? Not more than any other game. I don't know. I don't think it's more about Arizona thing as much as it is a Michigan thing. Like, Michigan has dominated they dominated Illinois on the boards. Obviously Tennessee they did actually get quite a few offensive rebounds, especially in the first half, but Michigan was able to buckle down and handle the number one offensive rebound team in the country. But they got dominated on the glass by Purdue, which is not like a physically dominant team. So I don't think it's the fact that Michigan can't match up with Arizona inside, but it's going to be it's a mentality thing. It's a execution thing. Like, it's up to Michigan to be up to the task, I think.
Something that Arizona does well, and I've noticed, is it wasn't not against Purdue. They played majority of their starters, but their bench does very well. That's one of the reasons why they're able to score 109 points, because your starters they're out of the game, and your bench just continues to unload in pain. Even from they shot 8 threes, and their bench players are able still to make shots. I have seen Michigan do well. Their bench, how was Michigan's bench against Duke? It struggled, right?
Against Duke, I think it did struggle.
Yeah.
Okay. But Michigan's bench, their depth has been an elite part about this team the entire year. Obviously, you don't have LJ Kaysen anymore, which would have helped that. But with the way Roddy Gale has stepped up in March, I think he's taken some of that offensive efficiency over. March Roddy Gale, as people like to call it. Trey McKinney has been huge off the bench as a true freshman. Elliot Cadeau has probably been playing his best stretch of basketball all year in the tournament. His assist to turnover ratio is great. He's able to get his own when he needs to. He's been shooting at a pretty decent clip, but he's just seeing the floor really well, and he's able to facilitate a lot of offense. Michigan scored 90-plus points in each of their games in the NCAA tournament, so that doesn't happen by accident without a great facilitator.
Yeah, Trey McKenna, he scored 12 points against Tennessee, and then Roddy Gale 8. I mean, that's not a ton of points, but when you go for 3 for 4 on the field for the limited amount of time you're on the court, that's pretty good.
It's big, especially when we haven't been able to count on Roddy Gale for 8 points most of this year. He's had 14 in a couple tournament games. To get 8 from him, especially. What'd you say?
He's averaging under 8.
This year?
Yeah.
So if you can count on him for 8 points, and it was also just kind of about the timing of those points. Like yesterday, he hit a big 3, which kind of sparked Michigan's 21-0 run. And he's also one of Michigan's best defenders. So, he's going to be out on the court no matter what. If you can count on him for some offense as well, that just makes him all the more dangerous.
Yeah, so obviously, I don't know if you want to continue. You were at the game against Tennessee, 95-62 win. It seemed like Arizona and Michigan had the best games in the league. They dominated. Obviously, UConn was down by 19. They had to come all the way back. Illinois, I mean, they did a fine win, but the way that Michigan won is specifically, what was that crowd like, and what are you looking forward to moving on in the tournament especially with that type of environment? Because these are fans that travel a long way for the team.
Yeah, Michigan fans travel really well, obviously. It's going to be in Indy, which is not too far. It was an awesome environment. People were loud. It was clear when you walked. Just when I got out of the car, really, walking around the United Center, it was clear what kind of a fan advantage you would have. It was maize and blue everywhere, maybe a sprinkle of orange here and there, but that plays a role. Like Axel Lendeborg talked about it in the post game. Like he said, every game we played so far in the tournament, we felt like it's a home game. Like, and that helps. That makes you want to make the extra play, makes you want to dive on the floor when you know what kind of support you have. Dusty May talked about it too after last year when Michigan had to play Auburn in Atlanta in the Sweet 16. Talked about how much of an advantage that was for them when they would go on a run and the crowd just goes wild, and that's why they wanted the #1 seed in the Midwest so badly. So I don't, it's the Final Four. All these fan bases are going to travel well, right? Like Arizona fans are very much devoted to their program. Same with UConn. Illinois, it's not too far for them too. So I don't think you're going to have as much of a advantage like you did in Chicago this week. But I expect, there will be no shortage of Michigan fans in Indianapolis. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's a couple of programs around the country, maybe for basketball, that you go to a neutral site, you're going to dominate. I will say there was more Duke fans in DC, but they're kind of known for a lot of Dukes being in DC. But there's still a ton of Michigan fans. Michigan is not close to Washington, but Indianapolis, Chicago is known for their Michigan fan base. I mean, obviously Ohio State dominates when they play Northwestern, but Michigan, I mean, there's tons of people in Chicago, so no surprise there.
Yeah. A lot of Michigan grads go to Chicago. I mean, my sister did.
Yep. So there you go. So obviously we can, whatever you want to say last.
It was a great win. Going back to the Arizona point, they actually did not dominate the entire game. They were down by 7 at half. But they really just seemed to get it together. Like it was, even though Purdue was up 7, I was still like watching that game. I was like, okay, if Arizona just gets back to the way they play, it's not going to be, Purdue's not going to stretch this lead out to 20, right? Like Purdue's going to have to win in a close one, and Arizona just wore them down. They got some big performances from Koa Pete, right? That's another freshman who's been kind of on and off this year. Spent some time out with an injury. That's another guy they would love to count on for some offense if they can, similar to Roddy Gale at Michigan. But yeah, it's going to be 2 just titans in that matchup. It's actually the highest rated. Have you heard of like the Ken Pom thrill score?
Yeah.
So it's a 92.8, which is, I think it started in 2011. They started doing that, and it's the highest rating ever before a game.
So that 1.5 spread, they're assuming that it's going to be around that.
Oh yeah, and I think it opened at Arizona 1.5. Now it's sitting around Michigan 1.5.
The last question I have: How do you think a Purdue Tennessee matchup would end up?
Purdue, Tennessee.
Yeah, because you guys played Tennessee twice this year, right? Or
Purdue.
just once in the Big Ten championship.
Purdue twice. Yeah.
Yeah, so Purdue.
Yeah.
You guys split in
Tennessee
the
just
split.
they go on stretch. They turn the ball over a lot. They actually didn't have like an ungodly amount of turnovers against Michigan, but they turn the ball over a lot, and they just kind of go on stretches where they're cold on offense. Michigan, obviously, their defense is best in the country. Like that has a part to do with it. But even when Tennessee was generating some good looks, like they miss a lot of layups around the rim, miss a lot of open threes. I don't think they'd be able to keep up with Purdue's offense, to be honest. So I think Purdue. I don't think Purdue would beat them by 30. But I wouldn't have predicted Michigan to beat them by 30 either. So
yeah. All right. Well, Final Four matchup is set. We'll preview that national championship. Hopefully, it's an Illinois Michigan matchup. That would be
cool. Yeah,
kind of sick to see that. Big Ten is winning on all levels, even baseball. UCLA is the number one team in baseball. Obviously, the new Big Ten, but hey, they're part of the conference now. So if you're gonna be good, we're gonna take you. USC, Southern California, also doing well in baseball. They're around the ranked 17. I'm not big on college baseball. I played pretty much at that level, and I do find it kind of boring at times. Games take a while. There's a lot of errors, but we'll see. The Big Ten not known for its Big Ten baseball, but maybe UCLA can.
Well, they weren't known for March Madness either, so
right.
So maybe they'll turn around.
We'll see. Ohio State had their pro day the other day. A lot of the guys like Caleb Downs who didn't participate in the combine, they kept their focus on Ohio State pro day. Caleb Downs did a phenomenal job. His stock continues it doesn't get higher. I mean, it's as high as it's going to get. There's only a few. Fernando Mendoza will be the obvious number one. He's already been learning the Raiders playbook. That's what I heard. Arvell Reese, there was stuff that came out about him and comparing him with Ruben Bain. Again, these guys.
I saw a lot about that. What's your thought on that?
Arvell Reese was a linebacker. He's played spy off ball, so I'm not sure why he's getting. He was a Luke Kuechly. That's who he was. He wasn't a Chase Young. He wasn't an Aiden Hutchinson. So I'm not exactly sure why those two players are being compared. He has said he can play edge, which at times he did and was very good at it, but he was a spy player. He was keeping eyes on the quarterback and did well. Ohio State played several mobile quarterbacks, and they ended up losing to two guys who were known for their passing, Carson Beck and Fernando Mendoza, who weren't big runners. Mendoza more than Beck, but nonetheless, they only scored 13 points.
Not really.
I'm not sure. There was a part of his athleticism that was being questioned on a turn and go for
the bag drill.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. They were comparing the two. I thought it was kind of ridiculous to compare the two. They don't play the same position. Like Luke Kuechly was one of the best linebackers of all time, and Arvell Reese is projected to be number 2 because of that comparison he has with Kuechly. Ruben Bain, another great player. In fact, the Washington Commanders have been thinking about drafting him. That's what a lot of our hosts on The Fan talk about, Ruben Bain. I do think that Sonny Styles will end up at that number 7 spot for Washington. He continues to shine. Not a big surprise for Ohio State fans or fans like you who had to face him. Every single game he dominated. Rarely did you see missed tackles for Sonny Styles. Same with Caleb Downs. I'm not as high on Caleb Downs going to the NFL as I am Sonny Styles. So if I were to pick a number 7 with Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, Carnell Tate, and your team that needs defense, I would go with Sonny Styles. It's just more liable, more durable to have a linebacker the size of Sonny Styles, 6'6". He gained a lot of weight since he came over as a safety, and Downs, he's my height. He's 6 foot. So, and that's not all right size for a safety. Sean Taylor was pretty big. I believe at 6'4", the legendary
I think so.
Commanders safety. So we'll see. David Igbinosa is also somebody who has picked up some recognition. Obviously, he struggled junior year under Jim Knowles, and then Matt Patricia comes in and he did a lot better. I will say that the whole oven mitt conversation, and apparently that wasn't true. So I don't know. That's what he said. I thought. I mean, I thought it was working. I was like, oh, the oven mitts. That's why he's not holding as much.
I wasn't. I thought it was a good idea, honestly.
So did I.
I was giving props to Ryan Day for that.
to embarrass Igbinosa in practice, but he said it wasn't true. Doesn't know why that narrative was going around, but who knows?
You should know why.
I mean, he led college football in holding and pass interferences. They don't even keep that stat, but they did for him.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I've never seen.
I don't think you had to really keep track. Like, there was no one else in the country that was coming close to his amount of PIs.
I never see, and the amount of football games I watch, it's not like football where you see these niche stats. Oh, most pre-snap penalties, false starts, and all that. But for him specifically, they did it. It was just his name. It said David Igbinosa, 15 holdings / pass interferences, leads FBS. They kept it for him. I mean, it was that bad. But he ended up turning around his senior year. I mean, it was a good thing he came back, because who knows what he would be doing in the NFL. He might just be on a practice squad. But it was a good day for Ohio State Pro Day. The Commanders are huge on Buckeyes. We had Bobby Carpenter, who played for Jim Tressel. Went to the national championship when he was a freshman. So we'll see. I mean, I think 4 Ohio State players should go in the top 10. Carnell Tate, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese. And I'm blanking on somebody. It's not Caden McDonald.
Did you say Caleb Downs?
Caleb Downs, Carnell Tate, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese. Oh, yeah, that's 4.
4. Yeah, I was confused.
Caden McDonald will go late in the first. But, I get asked the question, how did Ohio State lose a game? And I continue to say the same thing. Football is played on both sides of the field. You can't win games when, one, you score 10 points and your quarterback gives the other team 7 points. It's just not possible.
Which is unreal, because if you think about, I don't know, most people looking on would not think that the Ohio State's offense would have been a problem, like personnel-wise. But it was just something like Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Julian Sain was a Heisman finalist. You wouldn't think their offense would be as anemic as it was, which I think is interesting.
Well, if you think of Diego Pavia was a Heisman finalist, so maybe that type of recognition shouldn't be promoted as much as it should be. I mean, Diego Pavia is not going to translate into the NFL. Julian Sain has a tough time running. That was a big issue, and Ryan Day has addressed that to the media and has addressed that to Julian Sain, that if he wants to be a successful quarterback in Ohio State, which means going to the national championship, then you're going to have to run, or you're going to be replaced. So Sain has started working on that aspect of his game, but he was the issue for Ohio State football last year. I mean, it's his size on 4th and 1. He couldn't, in the red zone, he couldn't get first downs against IU twice, and then throws a pick 6 at 25 against Miami. Yeah. It's impossible for a defense. It was an historical defense for Ohio State, but it's tough when your quarterback is as inexperienced as Sain was. I mean, if you put Will Howard, you put Cardell Jones, JT Barrett, I think it's a different outcome for Ohio State. But nonetheless, Matt Patricia, Arthur Smith, the new offensive coordinator for Ohio State, will have a new team in several months. Is there any Michigan players you're looking forward to next year in the NFL?
I don't know. I'm seeing some buzz about the Lions being interested in Jimmy Rolder. I think Jimmy Rolder is a little too slow, particularly, but he is a good run defender. I think Derek Moore has the potential to be really good. Tayshawn Barham's a really good athlete. We'll see. He's kind of in a similar position to Arvell Reese. He's not Arvell Reese, admittedly, but where he played linebacker his junior year, moved full-time to edge, but it was kind of bad there. I don't know if that was just like malpractice by the staff. But I think he is a better linebacker, but he's just a freak athlete that it's hard to see. Like, it's hard to think that a team won't try to find a role for him, because he's like 6'4", bouncy, changes direction super fast, super explosive, good tackler. So other than that, not really. I mean, we've talked about this before. Most of Michigan's team is young and coming back next year. So
Yeah, and then for Ohio State, they were young on the offensive side, and maybe that was why the end of the season was tough. I know Brennan Ennis has talked about how he needs to step up if he wants to be drafted in the NFL. I think that's true. Jeremiah Smith has even acknowledged how important this year is for him, being a senior, only with 1 year left of eligibility for Brennan Ennis. So we'll see several months before kickoff, but it's always interesting with a month away and seeing these how will these players that you watch in college convert to the NFL?
yeah,
Because I mean, a guy like Leonard Fournette, Jeremiah Love, who was one of the best running back prospects of all time. Leonard Fournette was also, at that level that Jeremiah Love was in college. He didn't work out. So it's interesting. But Travis, I'm going to botch his name, ETN. I don't know if you saw recently, that's not how you pronounce
yeah,
it.
I did see it. It's like ETN,
ETN, something like that.
something like that.
So it's interesting. I think that it's hard to transfer in the NFL. It's a completely different game, especially at the size. I think Downs is going to have to figure out another way. I mean, he's pretty physical, but these guys, if he's trying to tackle Derrick Henry, who knows how it's going to work for him.
Yeah, it is a completely different game. I mean, it's not nearly as horizontal, sideline to sideline. Obviously, you got the narrow hashes, much more passing, drop back passing focused. But yeah, I'm ready for football season. It's going to be a long summer. I'm grateful that Michigan has made it this far in basketball because it closes that gap. And obviously, I want to win the national title in basketball. I mean, I was a Michigan basketball fan first before a Michigan football fan. You know this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, going to be a long summer.
So would you rather have a basketball or a football championship?
It's a good question. Right now, just because we had a football one so recently, I would say basketball. And I still am not over losing in 2018 to Villanova. But I don't know. If pretend we didn't win the national championship 2 or 3 years ago, whenever it was, in football, I might say football. I don't know. Football is just maybe it's because I didn't play college football, so it's just like a little bit different. I feel like I'm more of a fan, more of a casual fan. Obviously, I'm not like casual the way I watch it, but like I never played, so it's like it's. I mean, it's different to me.
There's something and it might just also for me more of Ohio State fan football side. That's I grew up going to a football game every single year. Not the same thing for basketball. Whenever Ohio State visits Maryland, we go over to it. But it seems to me that because people are more casual fans, there's a lot more viewers in football. Just itself is kind of more flex. The media coverage on football is a lot more. So there's a lot more coverage. I mean, when you win a national championship football, it's talked about for a very long time. For UConn, they won 2 in a row, and I don't think it's as respected as what Georgia did.
Yeah. Do you think it's harder to win a national championship in football than basketball?
I do, because I think because there's a lot more opportunity for teams in basketball. I mean, look at a George Mason. They made it the Final Four.
It's a good point.
The VCU with Shaka Smart had a phenomenal year. There's a lot more opportunity in football. I will say, is it easier for Ohio State to win a national championship in football and basketball? Obviously, it's football, but in terms of the entire sport, it's definitely football. I mean, Virginia Tech, for example, I don't know if they'll ever win a basketball championship, but I'm sure a football championship is in the realm at some point. At least now with the expanded playoff, it definitely helps. But as a whole, football to me seems maybe because of physicality and just the season being longer.
I think less opportunities is a part of it too. Like you only have 12 games in the regular season to punch your ticket. I know you have some wiggle room now, especially with the expanded playoff, but like look at like Illinois in the Final Four. Like I don't think anyone's looking at them as complete pushovers. Like they beat some good teams this year. They have like 9 losses on the year, and they're in the semifinal. Like whereas football, you got to be more I don't want to say
Illinois,
perfect, but
exactly their point. The same school. You lose to Ohio State, and it's over.
exactly. Yeah. So
Texas this year, they had to play Ohio State on the road. They lost. They had a couple tough games through the season. They lost 3 games, and look at the basketball program, an 11 seed, and they were able to go on a run.
yeah.
I think it's different with basketball. You're able to win games if you get hot at the right time. You're good. I mean, look at Ohio State. You're talking about the number 1 team the entire year, and all of a sudden their offense gets cold and they lose back-to-back games.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll go with football.
Yeah. Well, we got plenty of offseason to talk about football. After the Final Four, I'm sure we'll talk more spring ball, things that are going on there. Obviously, spring games are starting to happen. I know a few have already happened, but Ohio State's having a spring game, right?
Yes.
When is it?
It's probably around the April 18th. I mean, August 18th. One of that one.
Well, I hope it's not August.
No, it's April 18th.
Michigan is the 18th, so they might be.
It might be the same. It either might be. So it'd be, less than a month. It's either it might be an 11th or the 18th, one of those Saturdays.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of teams can't. I know Texas canceled theirs last year. I don't know if they did it again this year. The whole recruiting and allowing players. It's just shocking to me that they cancel games. They cancel their spring game, which is just for the teams to get together and help team chemistry, help the fans get hyped for the season, and you're canceling it because of the transfer portal.
Well, there's no spring portal now anyway, so maybe that changes things.
Thankfully. But it's just shocking that did happen. But yeah, we'll talk about more of that. Michigan, Arizona, UConn, Illinois in the Final Four. Our next show will be previewing the national championship. Again, hopefully it's 2 Big Ten teams going at it to win another Big Ten championship in sports. Obviously having IU win the football. So we'll see. It'll be big for Andrew right here if he can get a national championship title, and big for sports in general. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Hopefully. I mean, obviously I've said Michigan is good enough to win the national title this whole year, so it'd be disappointing if they didn't, but I recognize that it's hard to win a national title, and making the Final Four is a huge accomplishment. There are a lot of programs that would kill to be where Michigan is right now. Michigan was 8-24 2 years ago, so got to think back on that and think about the turnaround that Dusty May has had. But yeah, I don't actually hope it's 2 Big Ten teams in the national title. I would rather play UConn, not because I'm scared of Illinois, but I just don't want to play a team we've already played. That makes me feel I don't like it. I'd rather play UConn.
That's how I felt against Penn State going to the national championship. I was glad Notre Dame beat them. I didn't want to play Penn State again. Yeah. At some point, Penn State was never happened. James Franklin, after 2016, never beat Ohio State again. But that's the same way I thought. But yeah, go watch Andrew's vlog on TikTok. I thought it was pretty good.
Posted some from inside the United Center. It was a good time. Yeah.
So Step Brothers Podcast, you see down below, and then our Twitter, stepbros_pod, and then let us know who you have winning the national championship. What do you think the national championship matchup will be at least? Will it be 2 Big Ten teams? Will at least 1 Big Ten team will get there? We'll see. But thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next week.